As this report is filed, Joe Duffy's picks a stunning 12-5 in the NFL preseason with information just like this that we're giving you on the primer. Of course, we save the best for our premium plays. You've got your Saturday night preseason game of the year. Plus, you've got the single strongest sharp versus square play of the entire preseason. The NFL specialist, Joe Duffy's picks at offshoreinsiders.com. Now let's take a look at your Saturday card from a betting standpoint. Tampa Bay and Buffalo. Buffalo is -3, 41.5. Top draft pick and number 4 overall wide receiver Sammy Watkins is questionable for Buffalo. Tampa's biggest offseason acquisition of Altarian Werner is questionable to make his debut. Mike Jenkins will miss the third game with a hamstring injury. He's competing for the number 3 cornerback job. The Bucs have lost the first 2 preseason games, although they've shown progress from the first to the second. They're going to play their starters into the third quarter, which is pretty standard. Buffalo, as we said, we're giving some repeat information from a bunch of different sources, but the Bills are expected to use Mike Williams, Chris Hogan, and Robert Woods as their top 3 receivers with E.J. Manuel and the first-team offense. T.J. Graham could also see some time with the group. Bills cornerback Leotis McKelvin is questionable. Please, folks, if you do like these podcasts, we ask that you give us a very positive rating, hopefully a 5-star at iTunes or Stitcher, wherever you're listening to us. It'll help us get exposure. The more exposure we get, the more free information we will give you. Dallas and Miami. Miami's -3 and 125 with a total of 46.5. Cowboys starting nose tackle Terrell McClain is out. Defensive tackle Henry Melton, one of the best players in their front 7, also out. Maurice Claiborne, very doubtful for the Pokes. However, Miami has some injury problems themselves. Tight end Charles Gray, who had 69 catches last year, is questionable to probable. Miami running back Noshawn Moreno is probable. Dolphins head coach Joe Philbin says he is going a game plan for the Cowboys. Again, not that out of the ordinary, of course, for week 3 of the preseason. Miami did simulate a regular season week where the team put in a specific plan for their opponent. Miami quarterback Ryan Tannehill has been very solid in the second half of training camp in the preseason. Of course, in week 1, completed all 6 passes, and in week 2, he was 9 out of 14 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's completing 75% of his passes during the preseason. Matt Moore looked like he has staved off competition. There was some weak play early on by Matt Moore in training camp, but now he's kind of tightened his grip on the number 2 spot. Mike Wallace, big acquisition last season for Miami, key speed receiver. He says he is eager to play with he's injured. He is probable. And sources do say this is the most talented Dolphins team in years. However, the running game is very questionable. The offensive line is also not better, but they're weak at running back and offensive line. Titans and the Falcons. Remember, offshoreinsiders.com has absolutely positively the best premium plays. Who are the world's professional gamblers betting? The answer, www.offshoreinsiders.com. Titans and the Falcons. Wide receiver Julio. By the way, the Falcons are -3.5, total 44. Wide receiver Julio Jones practicing after making his preseason debut last week for the Birds. Drew Davis, though, is out at wide receiver for Atlanta. He caught 12 passes for 216 yards and 3 touchdowns in 16 games, starting 3 contests. Titans backup Charlie Whitehurst is doubtful. Without Whitehurst, the Titans will go straight from Jake Locker to rookie Zach Mettenberger. Titans are strong on both sides of the line of scrimmage at the point of attack. They're weak, though, in the secondary, quarterback and wide receiver. Falcons Sean Renfrey and T.J. Yates, though, battling for the backup quarterback job behind Matty Ryan. The Redskins and the Ravens, Baltimore -2.5, a total 44. Redskins cornerback Ladarius Webb will not play. Jimmy Smith, another cornerback, is doubtful to questionable, and Asa Jackson's questionable, so they could be without their top 3 defensive backs, and the Ravens already have looked pretty sloppy with poor pursuit angles, etc. The Saints and the Colts. Remember, the power of 620 sports services behind each and every selection. Quite frankly, the menu not complete as we send this preseason primer report, the tailgate party, to you, but the power of 620 sports services get the highest rated plays only from their highest rated handicappers and only in their highest rated sports. It's all in the master lock line, also tracing its roots back to 1980 on the Scorephone days, the old famous 976 lock line. The Saints and the Colts. Projected starting safety Delano Howe is out for the Colts. Drew Brees doesn't appear to be showing any rust after his 2-week hiatus. He's going to play about a half at quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. Injuries have delayed the true unveiling of the highly touted New Orleans Saints secondary, but it is starting to take shape. Jarius Byrd, Keenan Lewis, Champ Bailey, and Patrick Robinson. Now, depending on whether or not wide receiver Reggie Wayne does play, he is listed as questionable for Indianapolis. That Andrew Luck could have his entire offensive unit outside of starting center Khalid Holmes, who is out, but Wayne will be a game-time decision. Linebacker Robert Mathis, though unlikely to play in the preseason for the Bolts. And the Colts and their running back situation, very much fragile. Trent Richardson, what a bust, averaging just 2.4 yards a carry. Ahmad Bradshaw coming off of neck surgery. Keep in mind, the Colts defense has played pretty well, but they've gone from facing Geno Smith of the New York Jets and then the struggling Eli Manning. This will be easily the most high-powered offense and the best offense they've faced so far. Vikings and the Chiefs. Vikings will be without running back Adrian Peterson. Looks like Matt Castle, Brian Bridgewater, Christian Ponder, the top 3 quarterbacks for Minnesota. Bridgewater will take over sometime in the second half. Eric Berry is questionable for Kansas City. The Rams and the Browns, yep, you probably heard that backup quarterback Johnny Manziel struggling for Cleveland. He's not learning the playbook. Rams defensive tackle Michael Brockers, who had 46 tackles last season, is probable to play for the first time. Linebacker James Laurinaitis, who had 116 tackles last year, though, is doubtful to make his debut. Cleveland starting is Brian Hoyer at quarterback. 8 out of 20 passing, just 40% for 108 yards and no touchdowns or interceptions. Manziel, 14 of 27, 128 yards, a touchdown, and no picks. Texans and the Broncos. The Broncos -7 and 46. Monte Ball is the Broncos' top returning running back. He has returned to practice, but we don't expect him to play. Texans running back Adrian Foster, wide receiver Andre Johnson, 2 best weapons, are increasing their payload. They should play a normal, what starters will play in the 3rd week of the preseason, so they are getting better. Houston certainly had some injuries early in training camp, but they are healthier than they have been. Remember, folks, who's hot? Who has the big plays, the best plays from the best handicappers in their highest-rated sports on the Master Lock line, but the best handicapper of all time, me, Joe Duffy, CEO of Offshore Insiders. Get all the best plays at offshoreinsiders.com. Incredible full season packages are up.